All right, excellent. Well, Godfrey, you opened up this morning on a very high note, talking about how good a morning it is right now in Kebbi State following the release of the 24 students in Maga that were abducted in Maga in Kebbi State. Can you share with us what the update is? Of course, there are a lot of questions around the rescue efforts. They say it was non-kinetic in nature, but please share with us the updates following the release of those students.
Yes, good morning, Ayo. It's a very chilly morning, Wednesday morning in Kebbi State, Birnin Kebbi to be precise, the morning after the cheerful news about the release of the 24 kidnapped schoolgirls. Last we heard from yesterday evening was that the girls are undergoing medical evaluation and they should be reunited with their parents at an elaborate handover ceremony which will take place at the government house. So far, that is the only information we have at the moment, and things are yet to pick up. But then we can see we've seen armored personnel carriers moving in and around this place. This is the before me, we have the presidential lodge. That is where the event, the briefing by the governor took place yesterday, while behind me is the government house. We've seen vehicles moving in and out in the last few hours. So that's about the latest we have at the moment. But I'm pretty sure the parents of the girls should be in town now or are close to the capital. But as for the girls, they are on undisclosed location at the moment. I'm sure by now the medical evaluation has been completed. So we're just going to wait till the event gets underway in the next hour or two.
The introduction, there was a mention about non-kinetic approach. Can you tell us what that means? Does it mean that either the state government or the federal government or the families or any of the state security agencies, the mention was Department of State Security, was ransom paid? Do you have any information on that regard? And do you have information in terms of the mood of the girls themselves and their families? The girls may be in an undisclosed location, but what is the general mood in terms of how their families and others feel?
Okay, I'll start with the last question, Doctor. The mood of the girls from the video we saw online on social media has been, kind of cheerful. These are kids in the range of 10 to about 15 years or so. Of course, they're still children. They are still in the naive stage of life, and they won't be too hard done by following the events of the past 8 days. But of course, they are still very innocent, still very naive. Of course, we wouldn't expect them to be too depressed following that incident. Of course, no one can critically tell what the conditions that they were kept in was. We can only guess or fathom what it was. But as for the kinetic or non-kinetic approach taken by the security operatives, I can just tell you that this was a joint operation involving the local vigilantes and other security operatives, the DSS, the military, I won't believe the police, and the likes. Non-kinetic, putting that side by side with the information by the governor that no ransom was paid. I want to believe it wasn't just negotiation. Okay, I want the girls, they take the girls. I'm pretty sure there was a bit of combat. Non-kinetic in this context is something that those who were at the forefront of the negotiation or the engagement to secure the girls' release will give clarity on. From my standpoint, I will only tell you that I'm pretty sure there wasn't any form of, should I call it plea bargain, as it were, in this context. Because if the governor said there was no ransom paid, we only guess that some form of combat was involved in the joint operation that led to the rescue of the girls.
All right, Jeffrey, I'm always interested in the situation on the ground and how the community feels. Given that, as you've sort of explained these non-kinetic measures, we know that no arrests have been made yet. How does the community feel knowing that the perpetrators of this crime are still roaming free?
Yes, the fears, the concerns about insecurity is real, it's genuine. This permeates beyond Kebbi State. It's now a nationwide thing, if we're sincere with ourselves. We know the perpetrators of the crime are right next to us, a next door neighbor, could be one criminal or so on and so forth. you can't really tell who is, into what at any point in time. Non-kinetic approach to resolving this means that those people have not been arrested, they are still roaming the street. That should be a cause of concern. So basically, that's where the issue of accountability comes in. Those involved in securing the country, the issue of non-disclosure. Of course, it is good for in interest of national security, but at some point there will be need for some form of clarity, putting things in context. Like in the case of this non-kinetic, which of course has been thrown up over and over and over. At some point, we want to believe that there should be some closure, there should be some clarity on what non-kinetic in this context actually means. Because if you say you approach the measures to secure the girls' freedom was not by kinetic means, then it means the people who were involved are still not and they are still not arrested yet. So it means they are still free to roam around the street. So that leaves a lot of questions, and which of course those on the higher echelons of Nigeria's security architecture will provide more clearer answers to.
If you can hear me, whatever it is, it looks good. And President Tinubu can continue with the chest beating that he has been able to rescue the
24
the 38.
Okay, 38 and 24.
From Eruku in Kwara State, and now 24 from Kebbi State. Unfortunately, the vice principal that was killed, his family will still deal with this. However, what should we expect later today? The rescued 24 abducted girls, they're probably appearing in Ashwebi and going to government house, and Kebbi State governor receiving them, and statements will be made. What should we expect as Arise News continues to cover the situation?
Yeah, you got that spot on, Doctor. Of course, the Ashwebi should be ready right about now. Ashwebi is one of those things, of course, in such events, you have them come on an Ashwebi zone perfectly. So we're going to have that. The governor will receive them. The parents will also, speak, and, one or two of the parents will speak. One or two of the girls, if they're in the right mood, will also speak of their experience. So far, there's no agenda what the event will look like, but then we can always fathom a guess, because we've seen these incidents, we've seen events like these play out over time, so we can very well predict or guess what it will look like. So, of course, there's going to be Ashwebi for sure. That's definitely going to be for sure. Ashwebi, and then the accompanying razzmatazz that we follow, basically. But again, it's going to be an emotional moment, because after 8 days of being away from their children, the parents will be overjoyed to finally get to have their kids in their warm embrace. Doctor.
Very quickly, before we let you go, the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawale, who was stationed in Kebbi State following this abduction, said that the girls were secured in Niger State. We also know that there was also an abduction in Niger State. Is Niger State now a theater of mass abductions? What's the update on that?
Well, it's, these bandits, as they are known, are nomads. They have this nomadic way of doing things. They can move from one spot to another. Because if you want to trace those people who are kidnapped, if you want to trace their hideout, you wouldn't want to stay at a spot within the locality. You have to move far away. So it's very likely. Of course, Kebbi shares a common border with Niger State and Zamfara, as well as Sokoto. And then internationally, Kebbi also shares the same border with Niger and Benin Republic. That's the southern part. Southern part is Niger, and then the western part with Benin Republic. So you just expect some form of cross-border activity, including criminal activities at some point. So if those girls were moved from Kebbi to a neighboring state, that isn't much of is this a no-brainer, because these are criminals who are used to moving in the forest, and that shouldn't be much of an issue to want to bother ourselves about. But then, of course, we know this to evade arrest, to evade knowing their location, basically. So they must move in that format. So moving to Niger State, and then basically that's just a point that we, of course, already know.
Well, I'm sure we'll keep in touch with you, but please investigate this non-kinetic line that we have been told, because it will look like kidnappers, terrorists, bandits, insurgents are beginning to behave like Father Christmas. By next week, we'll be in Christmas mood. So we just want to know whether ransom was paid or not.
Yes.
Otherwise, we will say that terrorists have become Father Christmas. How was the situation handled?
And of course, Godfrey, thank you so much. We don't want a situation where bandits are able to hold the country to ransom at